A like and a comment go a long way in supporting news stories. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thank you. Man, you won't believe the night that finally broke me. There I was at this school staff party, the kind where everyone pretends to relax after a long week of lesson plans and grading, and Emily, my wife of 8 years, is across the room, glued to Greg, the science teacher. She's laughing way too loud at his dumb jokes about exploding volcanoes or whatever lab stuff he does, her hand brushing his arm like it's casual. But it's not, and she's totally ignoring me standing there with a plastic cup of punch that's gone warm. Her eyes are sparkling in that way I haven't seen directed at me in forever, and when I finally pull her aside in the parking lot later, she just smirks and says, "Relax, David, he's just more interesting than your stories." My gut twists like I've been punched, the cool night air hitting my face, and all I can feel is this deep, quiet anger mixed with sadness. How did the woman I loved turn into someone who could dismiss me like that in front of people I see every day? But let me back up, buddy, start from the beginning, because it wasn't always this way. I'm David, 40 now, a high school history teacher at Lincoln High in our mid-sized town. Been doing this for 15 years, waking up at 6 a.m. to the alarm on my phone, brewing coffee in our small kitchen with the chipped mugs we got as wedding gifts, then driving my old Subaru to school where I spend the day breaking down events like the American Revolution or the Cold War for teenagers who are more interested in their phones than in treaties. It's not a job that makes you rich, but it's fulfilling. I get to see that light bulb moment when a kid connects the dots, like why a decision in 1776 still matters today. The classroom smells like dry erase markers and teenage sweat, with posters on the walls, some I made myself, timelines of key battles, and stacks of essays on my desk that I grade late into the night under a desk lamp. I value honesty in everything, from telling kids straight when they're wrong to being patient with their questions. That's me. Reflective, not the type to rush into fights, always thinking things through. I met Emily 8 years ago at a book club in the local library downtown. It was one of those community things, held in a stuffy room with folding chairs and free cookies from the bakery next door. She was 32 then, a freelance graphic designer, sitting across from me with her sketchpad open, doodling in the margins of her copy of some historical fiction novel we were discussing. She had this sharp, passionate vibe, long brown hair tied back, glasses perched on her nose, and a way of listening that made you feel like your words mattered. Emily was empathetic back then, always picking up on people's moods, and creative as hell. She'd turn a simple idea into a visual masterpiece, like designing logos for small businesses or flyers for events. We bonded during the discussion. I was going on about how the book got Gettysburg tactics all wrong, and she leaned in, asking, "Wait, David, explain that again. Why would they position troops like that?" Her eyes lit up, genuinely curious, not just polite. After the meeting, we ended up at the coffee shop next door, talking till closing time. She sketched a quick caricature of me on a napkin, a history buff with a sword made of books, and we laughed about it. That was the spark. Our early relationship was warm, close, the kind where everything feels easy and right. We started dating right after, meeting up a few times a week. I'd pick her up from her tiny studio apartment, which was cluttered with art supplies, easels in the corner, colored pencils scattered on the table, the smell of fresh ink in the air. We'd go for walks in the park near her place, holding hands, talking about our days. Mine were full of school anecdotes, like the kid who argued that Washington was overrated, and hers were about client revisions that drove her crazy. But we connected on it. She'd say, "David, your stories make history feel alive, not just dates." Intimacy came naturally. Our first kiss was on her balcony after a late-night movie, soft and unhurried, leading to more. We moved in together after 6 months, into a 2-bedroom apartment on Elm Street, with wooden floors that creaked underfoot and a small balcony overlooking the neighborhood park. It was affordable, cozy. We painted the walls a soft blue, hung her artwork next to my bookshelves filled with history tomes. Life settled into a good rhythm. Mornings, I'd wake up to the sound of her humming in the shower. Then we'd share breakfast at the kitchen table, oatmeal for me, yogurt and fruit for her, with the radio playing local news in the background. I'd pack my lunch, a sandwich in a brown bag, while she prepped her laptop for freelance gigs. We'd kiss goodbye at the door, her saying, "Have a good day with the kids, General," referencing that napkin sketch. Afternoons, I'd come home from school, drop my bag by the door, and find her at her desk, surrounded by sketches. We'd cook dinner together, simple stuff like stir-fry or grilled cheese, but she'd add flair, designing little labels for the spice jars like they were branding projects. Evenings were the best, cuddling on the couch under a throw blanket, her head on my shoulder while I graded papers with a red pen, watching old war documentaries on Netflix. She'd pause the show to ask questions like, David, what if they'd done this differently at Normandy? And I'd explain, feeling valued, her hand in mine. Weekends, we'd plan trips, short drives to historical sites, packing a cooler with sandwiches and sodas, her sketching the landscapes while I pointed out battlefields. One memory stands out. Our honeymoon, a week after the small wedding in the park. We drove to a cabin in the mountains, nothing fancy, just a place with a fireplace and hiking trails. Days were spent exploring, her drawing wildflowers, me telling stories about local history. Nights, by the fire, we'd talk dreams. Maybe kids someday, me teaching them about the past, her showing them how to create. Intimacy was part of it, passionate and close, her pulling me in with that empathetic smile. Back home, she surprised me with custom posters for my classroom. Big, colorful timelines of the Civil War, laminated and rolled up. I hung them up, and the kids loved it. Even my colleague, Mrs. Thompson, the English teacher, said, David, these are great. Your wife's talented. It made me proud, honest about our bond. Our home reflected us. Books mixed with her art pads, a fridge covered in magnets from trips, the balcony where we'd sit with coffee watching sunsets. It was sincere, no games. But even then, there were small signs I overlooked, patient as I am. Like about a year in, during a dinner at her parents' house, her mom, a retired nurse named Linda, warm but nosy, and Dad, a mechanic, quiet type. Emily mentioned her boss's new promotion, saying offhand, he's got it all. Fancy car, big house. David's happy with the Subaru though. It was light, everyone chuckled, but it felt like a jab. Linda changed the subject, but I wondered why say it. Still, we had good moments after. She'd text me during the day with quick sketches, like us as historical figures, caption my hero. Contrast that with later, but I'm getting ahead. That comment was the first tiny crack, but I assumed it was nothing, valuing our honesty to work through. Things shifted slowly after Emily got that full-time job at the design firm downtown, about 3 years into marriage. It was a step up, better pay, more stability, but longer hours, commuting in traffic, dealing with demanding clients. She'd come home later, around 7 p.m., drop her bag by the door with a sigh, and head straight to the couch, phone in hand. Our dinners changed. I'd cook alone, stirring pasta while she scrolled emails, barely looking up when I asked about her day. Fine, she'd say flat. I'd share a school story, like how a student, Tim, finally got why the Berlin Wall fell, and she'd nod absently. That's good, David. No follow-up questions, no spark. I thought it was stress, so I'd offer back rubs, but she'd wave me off. Not now, too tired. Intimacy started fading too. At first, occasional, her turning away in bed, saying, rough day, babe. But it stretched to weeks, then months. I'd lie there in our queen bed, sheets tangled, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly, thinking about how she used to reach for me, her touch warm and inviting. Now, nothing. Attempts from me met with I'm not in the mood. Inside, I reflected, is it me? My job? But I stayed patient, honest with myself that relationships have phases. One night, I tried talking. We haven't connected like that in ages. Everything okay? She snapped back. It's not always about that, David. Life's more than your routines. Routines? It hurt, but I didn't push, assuming time would fix it. A small incident made me pause. One weekend, I suggested a walk in the park, like we used to, grabbing coats, strolling the paths where we'd first held hands. She agreed. But the whole time, she checked her phone for work notifications, barely commenting on the fall leaves or my story about a class field trip. Can't this wait till we're home? I asked, trying to keep it light. No, David, clients don't wait, she replied, eyes glued to the screen. Flashback to early days, her linking arms with me, pointing out birds or sketching quick scenes. Now, it felt like I was walking alone. I let it go, but it lingered. Work for me stayed the same, grounding me. Mornings, bell at 7:45, kids shuffling in, me at the board outlining the day's lesson on the Industrial Revolution. Lunch in the staff room with colleagues. Greg joking about his latest experiment gone wrong, Mrs. Thompson complaining about grammar errors. I'd share a laugh, then back to grading. But at home, the shift was noticeable. Neighbors Tom and Lisa noticed too. During a quick chat over the fence while I mowed the lawn, Tom said, Emily seems busy lately. You too, all right? I shrugged. Yeah, job stuff. But inside, I wondered if it showed that much. Emily's coldness built subtly. She'd forget small things, like my birthday card from students I showed her, left unread on the table. Or mornings, no goodbye kiss. Just a wave as she rushed out. I tried texting during lunch, thinking of you. Want to read that book together tonight? Reply. Can't, deadline. It added up, making me feel like an extra in her life. The comparisons snuck in gradually, like weeds in a garden. It began with little things around the house. One evening, after a long day, she came home talking about Mark at work. He just got a Tesla, electric, sleek, and he's planning boat trips now. Our Subaru's reliable, but she trailed off, eyeing the car keys on the counter. Mark was her co-worker, account manager type, always in her stories. I felt a pang. Why lump Tesla and boat together like that? But I said calmly, it's paid off, gets me to school. What's the point? She shrugged. Just saying, some people aim higher. Higher? My job wasn't flashy, but it mattered. That day, a kid named Sarah stayed after class, saying, Mr. D, your lesson on civil rights changed how I see things. That was my high. It didn't stop there. A week later, during a quiet evening where we were fixing a leaky faucet together, something we used to do as a team, her holding the tools while I twisted, she mentioned Paul from work. He's climbing the ladder fast. Conferences, big projects. Sounds exciting. Paul, another colleague, flashy type. I paused, wrench in hand. Sounds fun, but I'm good here. She sighed. You're always good with the same old, David. Same old? It was the first time it felt pointed. I reflected later, wiping grease off my hands. Was she unhappy with our life? Flashback to our mountain trip. Her excited about simple fixes like that cabin door we repaired together. Now this. I tried to counter it gently. Planned a surprise date. Tickets to a local history lecture series, thinking it'd blend our interests. Picked her up from work, Subaru idling outside her office building. She got in, saw the tickets. Oh, that's thoughtful. But Paul invited the team for drinks after hours. More networking. She chose drinks, came home late, reeking of bar smoke. Fun night. I asked, grating on the couch. Yeah, Paul's full of stories, real-world stuff. Real world? My stories weren't. I nodded, but inside, frustration brewed. Why always bring up these guys? At school, a colleague picked up on my vibe. Mr. Harris, the math teacher near retirement. Grizzled with a coffee stain on his tie, cornered me in the copy room. David, you seem off. Homefront okay. I admitted vaguely. Emily's job's intense. He nodded wisely. Seen it. Careers pull people apart. Talk to her. Good advice. That night, I did. Over a quick repair project in the garage, organizing shelves we'd built together years ago, I said, these comparisons, they bother me. What's going on? She rolled her eyes. I'm just sharing my day. Don't overthink. But it felt evasive. The distance grew physical too. Intimacy. Rare. One attempt. I hugged her from behind while she sorted her art supplies on the desk, kissing her neck like old times. She stiffened. David, not now, client calls soon. Rejected again. Lying awake. I thought. When did touch become a chore? A neighbor, Lisa, added fuel during a block walk. Saw Emily out late last night. Everything cool. Late? She said it was work. Small lie? I brushed it, but doubt seeded. The condescension ramped up in public, making it harder to ignore. At a neighborhood block party, burgers sizzling on grills, kids playing tag, Tom and Lisa hosting. Emily chatted animatedly with everyone. Then, in a group talk about jobs, she turned to me. David's too busy with his history books to notice the real world. Laughter rippled, but awkward. Tom clapped my shoulder. Hey, history matters, man. Lisa pulled me aside by the cooler later. Emily's been edgy. You too good. I nodded, just stressed. But it chipped at me. Why belittle in front of friends? Back home, arguments sparked more. One Sunday, I was organizing my books on the shelf, coffee cooling. She joined, but sighed at the stack. Always the same routine, David. Don't you want more? More? This is meaningful, I said firmly. Maybe not enough for me, she muttered, walking inside. First real crack. I followed. What does that mean? She waved it off. Nothing, forget it. But I couldn't. Reflected all night on the couch. Got clarity from Rachel, Emily's best friend. Rachel's an elementary teacher, bubbly with colorful scarves. We met at the coffee shop. She stirred her latte, hesitant. David, Emily's venting to me. She wishes you were more like her boss, driven. Boss. Corner office guy? It stung. She was broadcasting this. Rachel added. I told her it's unfair. You're solid. Guilty look from her, but I thanked the honesty. Confirmed. No respect left. Tension escalated. Emily stayed out more. Team events. I'd wait. House quiet. Her mom Linda called. Emily says home's routine. Routine? She painted me as the issue. Linda. Talk it out. It echoed Rachel. Emily rewriting us. Tried mirroring. Invited her to debate meet. She came, but phoned halftime. After. Cute, but not my scene. Cute? Resentment built. Student Johnny aced a test. Thanks, Mr. D. Grounded me. Another twist. Accidentally glanced at her phone while it charged on the counter. Text from Paul. Last night was fun. Let's repeat that laugh sometime. With a winky emoji. Fun. She said it was a work meeting. My heart raced. Was this more than networking? I confronted mildly that evening, during a quiet moment on the balcony. Saw a message from Paul. What's up with that? She snapped, grabbing the phone. Privacy, David. It's just colleagues joking. But no real explanation, just defensiveness. We argued then. She accused me of spying. I said it felt off. No resolution. She stormed inside, leaving me staring at the park lights. Doubt turned to quiet anger. Why hide? It lingered, making every late night feel heavier. One more push. A dinner at her parents' again. Linda cooked roast, the table set with old china. Emily started on work tales, then slipped in. Paul's leading big projects now. Real ambition. Glancing at me like my teaching was lesser. I felt the heat rise, words on my tongue. Enough with Paul. Am I not ambitious for you? Almost said it sharp, in front of her folks. But I bit back, patient still, changing the subject to Linda's garden. Inside, though, that was close, my limit showing. Linda shot me a sympathetic look later, but said nothing. The breaking point came at the annual school staff party, held at the community center downtown, a big hall with folding tables. String lights hung from the ceiling, and a playlist of old hits blaring from a speaker in the corner. It was one of those events where teachers let loose after a semester of chaos, potluck style, with casseroles steaming on chafing dishes, salads in plastic bowls, and desserts like brownies and pie slices piled high. The air smelled of home-cooked food mixed with cheap wine, and people milled around in casual clothes, jeans and sweaters, no ties or dresses usually, but Emily showed up late, dressed up more than I'd seen in months. She had on a new blouse, fitted just right, with her hair curled and makeup done, like she was going to a date instead of a coworker gathering. I was already there, helping set up the food table, chatting with Mrs. Thompson about her latest batch of student essays. When Emily walked in, she gave me a quick hi and a peck on the cheek, perfunctory, like an obligation, before scanning the room. I tried to play it cool, grabbing a plate and loading it with mac and cheese and some chicken dish, thinking maybe tonight we'd mingle together, like old times at parties where she'd stick by my side, laughing at my bad jokes. But no, she beelined straight to Greg, the science teacher in his mid-30s, the guy who's always charismatic with his demo stories about blowing up baking soda volcanoes in class. He's tall, with that easy smile that makes students love his lessons, and tonight he was holding court near the punch bowl, telling a group about a lab mishap that had the principal laughing. Emily joined in seamlessly, her laugh echoing louder than necessary, that bright, genuine one I hadn't heard aimed at me in forever. She touched his arm lightly while responding to his story. Oh, Greg, that's hilarious. You must have the best class ever. And leaned in close, her body language all open and engaged, like I wasn't even in the room. I watched from across the hall, my plate growing cold in my hands, feeling that familiar twist in my stomach start to tighten. Staff noticed. Mrs. Thompson, standing next to me with her wine glass, whispered, "Everything all right, David?" Emily seems occupied. I forced a smile. Yeah, just catching up with folks. But inside it burned. Why him? Greg and I weren't close, but we nodded in the halls. Now, seeing her ignore me completely, chatting animatedly for what felt like hours, it hit different. Other colleagues shot glances. The principal raised an eyebrow my way, and Mr. Harris muttered something about office politics under his breath, but no one said it out loud. I tried joining the group once, sliding in with a comment about a shared school event, but Emily barely acknowledged me, her eyes fixed on Greg as she said, "Tell us more about that experiment gone wrong." It was like I was invisible, a ghost in my own workplace social circle. The night dragged, music played, people danced awkwardly in the center, but I stuck to the edges, nursing my punch, mind racing with flashbacks. Remember that book club where we met? Her eyes on me, curious and warm. Now, that same sparkle for someone else, right in front of everyone I work with. My chest felt heavy, like the room was shrinking, but I kept my cool, patient as always, no scene. Finally, as the party wound down, lights dimming and tables being cleared, we headed to the car. The drive home was silent at first, streetlights flashing by, until I couldn't hold it. What was that with Greg back there? She smirked, glancing at her phone. Relax, David, he's just more interesting than your war stories. The words landed like a slap, dismissive, public in its aftertaste, reducing my passion to a joke. Outside, I stayed composed, nodding as if it was nothing, but inside, something snapped. All the comparisons, the distance, the lies, it crystallized here. No more patience. This was the end of pretending. That night, after the party blow up, I didn't make a scene or pack right away. No, I'm not the type for dramatic exits. Patient, reflective, remember? But I did move my stuff into the guest room, stacking my clothes in the closet there, my history books on the small shelf by the bed. The room was basic, a twin mattress with faded sheets we'd bought on sale years ago, a lamp that flickered sometimes, and a window looking out to the backyard where the grass needed mowing. I told Emily over breakfast the next morning, cereal for me, her sipping coffee without meeting my eyes. You want to chase what's interesting? Fine, but do it without dragging me down. From now on, we're living separate lives in this place. She stared at her mug, then muttered, if that's what you need, David. No fight, just that distant tone she'd perfected. But I saw a quick flash in her eyes, maybe surprise, or even a hint of worry. Didn't matter, I'd hit my limit. The next few weeks were awkward as hell, like sharing space with a roommate you barely know. I'd wake up early, make my coffee quietly to not wake her, then head to school where things felt normal. Kids debating in class, me grading under the fluorescent lights. Home by afternoon, I'd stick to the guest room or the living room couch, cooking simple meals for myself, microwave dinners or sandwiches slapped together on the counter. Emily kept to the bedroom mostly, her laptop humming late into the night with work stuff. We'd pass in the hallway, polite nods, maybe a hey, if one of us was grabbing mail. No deep talks, no attempts to fix it from her side. I reflected a lot those nights, lying on that lumpy bed, thinking how we'd gone from partners to this. Was it her job changing her, or had the cracks always been there? Honesty with myself. I deserved better than constant put-downs. What about you, buddy? Ever felt like you're just existing in your own home? About a month in, I started looking for apartments online during my prep periods at school. Found a one-bedroom spot downtown, close to Lincoln High, basic, with a small kitchen and a view of the street. Rent I could swing on my salary. Signed the lease quietly, no big announcement. Told Emily one evening while she was scrolling her phone on the couch, I'm moving out next weekend. This setup isn't working. She looked up, surprised this time. Already? We could talk about it. Talk. Now she wanted to. I shook my head, calm but firm. Too late for that. You made your choices. Packed over the next days, boxes of books, my clothes, a few kitchen items I'd bought. Friends helped. Tom from next door lugged stuff to my Subaru, saying, man, sorry it's come to this. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, time for a change. Moved in on a Saturday, the new place smelling like fresh paint, empty but mine. Settling into the apartment felt like breathing again. Unpacked slowly. Books on new shelves I assembled myself, a cheap coffee maker on the counter, balcony chair for evening reads. Work stayed the anchor, teaching periods flowing, kids like Sarah acing quizzes, even Greg at staff meetings keeping it professional, no weirdness. After school, I'd hit the gym nearby, something I hadn't done in years, just to clear my head. Evenings alone weren't bad. Grading papers at the kitchen table, watching documentaries without interruptions, maybe a beer while reflecting on the day. Started feeling like myself again, honest about what I wanted, no more walking on eggshells. A couple months after the move, I met someone new. Not looking for it, but at a book club revival, the same library where Emily and I started. Her name's Anna, 38, a librarian with a quiet smile and a love for nonfiction. We chatted after the meeting about a World War II book, her asking smart questions like Emily used to. Grabbed coffee once, then a walk in the park. Nothing rushed, just easy talks about books, her sharing stories from the library kids. First date was simple. Dinner at a local diner, burgers and fries, laughing over bad puns. She's grounded, empathetic without the edge, and yeah, she likes me for who I am, the history geek. We've seen each other a few times now, early stages, but it feels good, natural. No pressure, just seeing where it goes. Inside, I think, this is what respect looks like. Life kept moving, months turning into a routine I actually enjoyed. Apartment felt like home. Added a plant on the windowsill, framed a student drawing on the wall. At school, got a small raise, coached the debate team to regionals. Kids excited, parents thanking me. Weekends, hikes alone or with Anna, her packing sandwiches. Us talking about everything from politics to silly movies. No drama, just steady. Then, about 6 months after moving out, I ran into Emily at the grocery store. The big one on Main Street. I was buzzing with shoppers. I was grabbing milk and bread, cart half full. When I turned the corner, and there she was, looking at cereals. Her hair messy, eyes tired like she hadn't slept well. She spotted me, froze. David, hi. Voice soft, almost shaky. We chatted awkwardly at first. Weather, work stuff. Then she said, look, I need to say this. I messed up big time. That stuff with Greg? Stupid, nothing really. I got caught up in work, thinking I needed more excitement, but I miss what we had. The talks, the warmth. I'm sorry. I see now how I pushed you away. Regret was real, her hands fidgeting with the card handle, eyes dropping like she knew she'd lost something good. I paused, feeling that old twist but calmer now. I appreciate you saying that. But you chose your path, and I've chosen mine. I'm doing all right, better, actually. No anger, just honest. She nodded. Yeah, you look content. Take care. We went our ways. I finished shopping, paid at the self-checkout, drove home thinking about it. No second thoughts. Closure, finally. Now, looking back, life after all that mess is solid. Apartments cozy, jobs rewarding, got a new class project going, kids engaged like never before. Anna and I are taking it slow, but she's become a bright spot. Dates turning into weekends, her meeting some friends, feeling like a real connection. No more comparisons or distance, just me, living on my terms. It's quieter, sure, but peaceful, waking up without tension, evenings with a book or a call to her. Yeah, buddy, it all worked out better this way. Sometimes you gotta let go to find what's right. How's that for a turnaround?